on which industries perform better, I'll speak more to the SEO side since that's my area of expertise. Usually the businesses that have a higher profit margin, right? It's pretty hard to, let's say we have a 99-cent product, and you're paying $4,000 a month in SEO. Well, you're gonna have to sell a lot of units just to break even. Now with paid ads, because we talked about a dollar in, dollar out kind of thing, $1 in, $2 out, you can quantify much more meticulously your return on your investment. So if you have a smaller ticket item, then it's easier to go and start with paid ads because you get numbers back in real time to go, okay, is this working? With SEO, you're going to have a little more patience and trust in the process to see if it's worth it.
Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen, and I'm your host. And today we've got a very special guest, Damon Burton, who is a husband and a father of 3, who actually beat $1 billion company by outranking their website on Google. From then on, he realized he was onto something great and went on to build an international search engine marketing company that worked with Inc. 5000 and Shark Tank featured businesses alike. Having started his business right before the 2008 recession, Damon is familiar with navigating and growing a business during confusing times, including tripling revenue during the recent pandemic. Since founding his company, SEO National, in 2007, Damon has been featured in publications including Entrepreneur Magazine, Forbes, BuzzFeed, and US Weekly, as he helps big and small clients make more in a month than they used in a year. Welcome to the podcast, Damon.
What's up, Arlen? Hey, man, I appreciate the opportunity to chat.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. I'm super excited to talk to you. And, we're going to be talking about a couple things here today, but we're going to be, I think, specifically diving into the pros and cons of SEO compared to paid ads, which I think is really, a great topic. I've had a lot of people on the podcast talk about SEO, various SEO strategies. We've also talked about paid ads and, the cons of each of them on separate episodes. But I think this will be a great episode where we're going to be kind of comparing both of them and what you would see. What you've seen is applicable in different situations. And so super excited to dive deep into that. But before we do, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and specifically how you got into what you're doing today?
Yeah, so my background was originally in web design. There's long stories and tangents. So, the condensed version is probably goes all the way back to even things like high school. So I grew up lower middle class. Computers weren't in our household, and I knew financially they probably wouldn't be. So I took advantage of computers at school, and I started learning basic things that we take for granted now, like word processing. But when I took the opportunity to learn those, then when HTML first started to go commercial, before Dreamweaver, before Shopify, before WordPress, you used to have to do all those things by hand manually. So I got to learn that. And then when I came out of high school, college, I started a car enthusiast website that started to take off. And so then I said, how do I make this better? And then I got more into design. And then as that grew into thousands of active members, I said, how do I monetize this? And so that's how I started to get into marketing. And then at some point, most of us do side hustles. So I did the side hustle for a while. And then the day job actually got shut down. This is going to open like a big Pandora's box, but the day job got shut down and raided by the ATF and the FTC. And guns
Wow.
blazing and like whole movie scene. And so I had a choice to either go find a new job or bet on myself with those side clients. And so I bet on myself, and 17 years later, got a team of about 60 and run a multi-million-dollar SEO agency.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, yeah, that's quite a story. Thank you for sharing that. And, sometimes you have to pivot unexpectedly, and it seems like you did that.
Yeah.
And fortunately, it looks like it's definitely paid off for you, which is, definitely a good thing. So, that's always good to know people's background, and it looks like you kind of started early in on the business, as like you said, from hustles when you were high school, and kind of moving on from there. So it seems like you're a true entrepreneur, so to speak.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, of course, at the top of the recording, we're going to be talking about SEO as compared to paid ads. And so I guess coming all the way to the beginning, what would you say are some of the foundational differences between SEO, paid advertising strategies, and how should the differences affect a brand's approach to digital marketing?
Yeah, it's a great topic because, kind of like you touched on, you've kind of talked about one or the other. And I think it's funny, us as marketers, we like to throw rocks at the other forms of advertising
Right.
when it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game, right? If one is profitable and driving return, and multiples are driving return, then you can do multiple forms of marketing.
Sure.
So, on the SEO side, the advantages and disadvantages are almost entirely the opposite of paid ads. So, the biggest disadvantage to SEO is it takes time. If you know anything about SEO, that's no surprise. But I think where a lot of marketers fail, and is a great opportunity if you're in the SEO space, is to communicate to your clients why it takes time. And so when you can explain that, you're this much time in to fix your website structure, you're this much time in to find where the money is and how to build out an effective content strategy, and then it takes this amount of time to build the content and distribute it and publish it, then it makes sense to your customers, and then it buys them more time and patience. And so that's kind of really the deciding factor. Coming back to your question is, how do you decide paid ads versus SEO? And it's really your patience and your tolerance for time and cash flow.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Time, like you said, is the biggest thing. And it's a tough thing, especially for, let's say we're talking about a startup e-commerce business. So that's kind of fresh out of the gate. And as you know, with SEO, let's say you just launched a startup, you've launched your website, you've got your online store, you're starting to make some sales and things, but you're very new, meaning that even your domain name is new, was recently registered. You got a little bit of content on the website to try to, inform your prospective clients, but you're not ranking for anything. And so it's difficult for a business to just say, okay, I'm going to stick in this for the long run, and just start to kind of grow it. And I think that's kind of where the paid ads come into play, where you can try to get some quick wins. So how does, let's say at this very starting point, how, with SEO specifically, how would you say a business should evaluate just that long-term value of these SEO investments, compared to the quick wins of paid advertising? Because, there definitely is going to be a kind of a decision they have to make up front.
Yeah, you kind of look, the way that I look at it is, what's the intersection point of your return on investment between the two? Because to your point, paid ads, you can start quicker. But a lot of times there's a difference between progress and monetization. So just because you start quicker doesn't mean you monetize quicker. So we also have to take into consideration, usually you have to burn money for a while on paid ads until you start to get the right audience and get the pixel seasoned and then start retargeting the right people. So even with that, you can still get a return generally quicker than SEO. So then where you look into the future of the intersection point is your multiplier. So with paid ads, the game is $1 in, $2 out, right? And so over time at scale, eventually that return starts to dilute. $1 in at scale no longer becomes 2 out, but your goal ends up being closer to $1 in, $1.10 out, right? And so you hit a limit at scale. And so that's where you can start to go, okay, do I have enough of a return on my paid ads that I can now start to reinvest into organic to scale that as well? Because to the opposite, organic, the investment is $1 in, nothing out. and then $1 in, nothing out. But then instead of $1 in, $2 out, it becomes $1 in, $5,000 out, right? And so there's a larger multiplier with a wildcard effect. And so it really boils down to, do you have the cash flow to reinvest into something else that may have a higher multiple, but it takes longer to get that return? And then if not, continue reinvesting in paid ads. And then when you get the opportunity, or you have more patience or cash flow, then SEO generally drives a higher return. Plus, it often has a higher conversion rate, because when we have paid ads, we're largely interrupting the visitor, especially if we're doing like social media paid ads. But with organic, the customer went to search engines to buy a thing or solve a problem. So they have an intent already. So generally you have a higher conversion rate as well, which better supports the ROI.
Hey there, fellow entrepreneurs and B2B marketers. Before we dive back into the conversation, let me introduce you to a game changer in the lead generation arena, Lead Feeder. Now, we all know the struggle of identifying those elusive website visitors and turning them into valuable leads. But what if I told you there's a tool that not only promises but delivers on supercharging your lead generation and sales efforts? Enter Lead Feeder. Imagine having the power to identify companies visiting your website, track their behavior in real time, and seamlessly integrate it all with your CRM. Lead Feeder is not just a tool, it's your secret weapon for efficient and targeted lead engagement. What sets Lead Feeder apart? It's the ability to provide detailed insights into customer behavior, helping your sales team prioritize efforts and close deals faster. With customizable notifications, lead scoring, and GDPR compliance, Lead Feeder is changing the game. Ready to revolutionize your approach to leads and deals? Head over to leadfeeder.com for your free demo today. That's LEADFEEDER.com. Don't miss out on the future of successful lead generation with Lead Feeder. Yeah, I get that. When you're doing any type of advertising and putting campaigns out there, a lot of what marketers say is you're over time, of course you're trying to educate customers, and you're trying to come off as an authority on something, to really ultimately sell your product, to say, okay, you should buy my product because we're an authority on this particular subject. We've done our research, and then we've developed what we feel is the best product to meet X needs. And so coming off like that, in your experience, how would you say SEO and paid ads differ, in terms of building that audience trust and then the engagement overall? And does one method lead to a more loyal customer than the other, or is it equal?
Well, I think the loyalty is in the actual quality of the product, and then also the follow-up as well, right? Because you can introduce the audience from two different angles. Because on the paid ad side, it's largely the shiny bubblegum wrapper at the checkout stand, right? And so once you capture their attention, you generally want to get them to convert as quickly as possible, because they didn't go into the transaction with the intent to have a transaction in most cases. But with organic, where they went and searched something and went to solve a problem, then they often have an intent. So your exposure and your first impression is generally structured different for it to perform differently. And so it's kind of apples and oranges. But what happens is, once the transaction is completed, then you're on a level playing field, right? Because now we just sold the product, and we're delivering the product. And so really it's, if you have a product versus a service, it's how good is the product itself, how good is the unboxing experience, how quick is the shipping, all those types of things. And then in the service, it's all the standard things as well. How good was the service completed? Was it timely? Were the people relatable? Was it a good engagement? And so those are the things. It's going to be in the follow-up that's going to be the differentiator in that scenario.
Yeah, I totally agree. The ad is really just in that initial contact that somebody has with the business, whether it's a paid ad sponsored listing on Google, or whether they come across your brand organically from the organic search listings. That's just a starting point.
Yeah.
I think when they see that, I don't think a brand a customer has made any type of decision yet. They may see your result come up in response to their search query. But then, they definitely, you're going to go through to your site, do a little bit of due diligence, look at your pricing, you name it. And they're probably clicking around, going to other sites as well, just trying to understand if you're going to meet their needs. So I totally get that.
They can also support each other too, because, if you run paid ads, a lot of times the people, to your point, want to do their due diligence. And so then they may go search the brand name or the product. And so if you also show up organically, that adds to the credibility. Vice versa as well. Maybe somebody finds you organically, and then when they go to do their due diligence or through retargeting, right? So paid ads can support organic in that credibility, just as organic can support paid ads.
Yeah, true. How would you say the costs and the ROI, the return on investment of SEO compared to those of paid advertising, especially for smaller businesses or startups with limited budgets?
Oh man, it's all across the board, because it's going to depend on a couple of things. One is your product to begin with. What are your profit margins? Two is what's your market cap? What's the volume in people that are available to buy your product? Or if you offer a service, how large of a service area do you cover? And so there's a big difference in available reach if you're targeting a city versus a state versus national. So depending on those things, it can vary. A couple examples to illustrate the extreme of this is we have a client that sells an automotive retail product. And so when they first started with organic, they were doing 80,000 a year online. Now they do 1.2 million a quarter. And so that's a huge jump. And the majority of that, probably 80% plus of the sales is on the organic side. And then, we talk about your return on investment and your ability to scale. And so we have a client that's in the medical space, and they're historically been paid ad heavy, and it's worked really well for them, but it's also expensive, and they're hitting that ceiling we talked about. And so they were doing something like $125,000 to $150,000 per month in paid ads. And we're doing $4,000 a month in SEO. And within 18 months, we were able to meet the volume of lead gen on the organic side for whatever the division multiplier is of 150 grand versus 4,000. And so there's a substantial difference in the return on investment in that type of scenario, but paid ads got them there really quickly. And so it's that give and a take, that pro and a con of where you at with your ability to reinvest in your cash and your patience and cash flow.
Yeah. That's really what it comes down to. No matter how those customers are coming through, it's really going to make a difference on what you're profiting, what your revenues are, and then what do you do with that once you've obtained that profit, and you invest it back in the company, and then kind of which routes are you going to go with regards to your marketing. Now, a common question I think many people have, especially with search engines and the knowledge that people have of the mysterious algorithms, that all these search engines have, that's kind of like the wizard behind the cloak, so to speak, that nobody knows when it's going to change, what really are the inner workings of these algorithms, and how do they rank things. And so because of these often updated algorithms, which can, as you and I know, can drastically affect SEO strategies, how would you say the volatility of SEO due to these algorithm changes compares to the stability of paid ads?
Yeah, what's surprising is I think it's the total opposite. This is a pretty common topic, to your point. And while it is true that Google changes algorithms on a small scale, potentially daily, but on a large scale, maybe every few months. But if you stick to the basics, the core fundamentals of SEO, which are only three things. One is your site structure. So does it load quickly? Is it mobile friendly? Clear call to action. Two is your content. Do you clearly communicate your value propositions and why you're an authority? And then three is external credibility. Do other people talk about your website, your brand? Do they link to your reviews, things like that? So out of my 17 years, anytime we've had an algorithm roll out, we've never had a penalty. Clients are either neutral or positive. And so when other people get stuck on the other side of that coin on SEO, is it because they're getting distracted by shiny objects. They're trying to manipulate the system. They're trying to look for loopholes. And so if you stick to the fundamentals, you can certainly probably get somewhere faster, but but probably not as sustainably. And so I actually think it's the opposite. When we think about paid ads, I mean, with my SEO clients, I'm not in checking my paid ad platform on a daily basis to see if the cost per click has changed, if the conversion rates changed, if my ad account got shut down, or ironically, today, the day of us recording, Facebook was down like for an entire hour. And so when you compare the outage of Google versus Facebook, I mean, Facebook historically has pretty successful uptime as well, but like an hour is a big deal. Like if you're plowing money in paid ads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that outage, but very good point, because a lot of times people will, you've heard the phrase, this the set it and forget it. That doesn't apply to paid ads. You can't just set it and forget it. Like you said, you've got to be on top of your listings, your pay-per-click amounts. There's all these types of changes that just require that hands-on attention. Not to say that with SEO you don't have to be attentive. It's a little bit different, since you're dealing with more long-term strategies. It's not necessarily something where, like you said, these little quick adjustments have to be made just like immediately. Things have to be done, but since it takes time for these search engines to recognize things and to rank, increase rankings or lower rankings, you have a little bit of runway, I guess you can say, before changes are made. So yeah, I get that. That really makes a lot of sense. And then to your point as well, outage is definitely more common with Facebook's, Instagram. I know it's been down several times last year. There was some outages, and so those are things that, especially if you've got a fairly large investment in it, which is something where time that it's out, you're not making anything, you're not getting any clicks or anything like that. Whereas the major search engines, the Googles, the Bings, I mean, I can't remember any time where they've had any significant recent outage. I mean, how about what do you
I actually tried to look today, because I went and made a little meme about Facebook being down, and I couldn't find. I'm confident they've been down, but as any noticeable scale, I couldn't find anything either.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think so, or nothing widespread. Probably maybe some isolated incidents in certain regions or whatever, but widespread, I don't see it. But some of these social media platforms, it's like when they're down. It's almost like globally, so which is a big deal.
To your point, depending on where you're running your ads, if you're running them on Facebook's platform, then if one is down, then generally so is Instagram, so is Messenger, right?
Exactly. All of that is all tied together, which is an unfortunate thing. Well, Damon, as we get ready to wrap things up, I wanted to see, how can a business best integrate SEO and paid advertising into just kind of one cohesive marketing strategy? And, are there any specific industries or types of businesses that benefit more from one approach, over the other?
Yeah, they can certainly coincide together. So on which industries perform better, I'll speak more to the SEO side, since that's my area of expertise. Usually the businesses that have a higher profit margin, right? It's pretty hard to, let's say we have a 99-cent product, and you're paying $4,000 a month in SEO. Well, you're gonna have to sell a lot of units just to break even. Now with paid ads, because we talked about a dollar in, dollar out kind of thing, $1 in, $2 out, you can quantify much more meticulously your return on your investment. So if you have a smaller ticket item, then it's easier to go and start with paid ads, because you get numbers back in real time to go, okay, is this working? With SEO, you're going to have a little more patience and trust in the process to see if it's worth it. But you reduce that risk when you have a higher profit margin product. So that's kind of how I look at it from, the types of industries, but more from the margins more than the industry itself. Now, the way that you kind of have both of these platforms work together, paid ads and organic, is paid ads can feed data to organic, but it doesn't influence the positions of organic. However, organic can influence the positions or the success of paid ads, because what happens is, whether you're advertising on search engines or social media platforms, when you run an ad, these platforms will ping your website to kind of look at the user experience and go, okay, is this loading quickly? Is it mobile friendly? How relevant is the content on the page to the ad? And then this is all part of your ad quality score. So through the process of organic, you make your website more mobile friendly, you make the page load quicker, you improve the content relevance. And so through that process, you can often reduce your cost per click. We have an example where it's like one of our new clients does a lot of paid ads, and their cost per lead went from $9 down to $3.80. Just as a result of us improving those SEO metrics. So they can definitely support each other. So your organic can give your paid ads team insights as to here's where the money is, right? Because you go through the keyword discovery process and you go through the buyer persona process and vice versa. You should be doing that on paid ads as well. And so a lot of times paid ads is more nimble. And so you can use SEO to start the keyword research process to find the long-term targets that are more evergreen, but you can play around and be a little more experimental on the paid ad side. And so once you get your solid foundation from maybe the organic keyword research, then your paid ads can be the loop that feeds it back to go, hey, here's new things that we're discovering that maybe we can also integrate into our SEO strategy.
Yeah, I like that. And then I guess also with the paid ads, it can be a great, like you kind of said, is almost a test ground for messaging even, because the SEO route, creating blog, let's say, content or specific informational content, you can put that out there, put it on your website. It takes time for it to rank. And you don't necessarily, you can look at competitive listings and competitors in your space to kind of get a feel for if it does rank. This is kind of where we'll end up, but there's no telling if you are going to rank that way. Your ultimate goal, of course, is going to be, is this content going to be receptive to our prospective customers? And with paid ads, it's a great way to do that, great way to test it, putting a little bit of money, test different messaging, doing even A/B testing on one specific marketing message versus another. And, you can throw that out, pretty quickly and then just look at the results. So I think it's definitely a great way to do that.
Yeah, you've seen, you're probably familiar with Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, right?
Yep.
That's how he came up with the title, was ad testing. And so he ran a couple ads with book title candidates, just to a dummy page, right? Just to get the clicks, just to see which one resonated with the audience more.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And he chose the winning one.
Yeah.
And a very, very successful book years later.
Yeah.
Well, David, it's been an awesome conversation. Really appreciate you coming on. I've definitely learned a lot. And I know our audience, listeners and viewers have as well. But I always like to close things out just so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact that you think we'd be interested to know.
I worked on air and radio for 7 years.
Okay.
So that was fun. And that was actually in the infancy of my career. And if you know anything about radio, in between your breaks, you're just kind of sitting there in a studio. And so that's where I started to build out that car enthusiast website that I talked about at the beginning of the conversation.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Good stuff, man. Radio is still these days, still around. Things have shifted a little bit now because we've got of course, the satellite radio, the Sirius XM of the world. But radio is still there. People still.
Well, that was a long time ago for me. So.
Gotcha. All right. Well, good stuff, man. Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Lastly, before we do let you go, if our listeners and viewers want to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about pay-per-click advertising or SEO, what would be the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, real simple. DamonBurton.com. On there, you can find out more about what I offer. And then I also wrote a best-selling book about SEO, and you can grab a free copy.
Okay, awesome. We'll definitely have that link in the show notes for people to check that out and take a look at your book as well. And thank you for sharing that. And really appreciate having you on, Damon, on the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast.
Thanks, Arlen.
Thank you for listening to the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level, but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.